I want to do this in terms of what are budget private schools. What need do they satisfy? And it's a very unique proposition because it's between business and education. Okay, and those are very, dicey fields to mix up. So let's go into that.
Yeah. So conventional wisdom says that education is a public good and is the responsibility of the government. You go to any developed country, you will find that 99.9% of the kids go to government schools.
Yeah.
But today the reality is that affordable private schools are across all the income segments, right from the upper end to the lower income segments. And the way to define an affordable private school, the way we define it, can you imagine a school providing education in a fee range of say 10,000 rupees to 25,000 rupees per annum, right? So these are the schools where people send their kids to as an alternative to government schools. Mostly these are from the lower income and the lower middle income segments. So our maids, drivers, electricians, plumbers, these are the people who would be sending their kids to these schools with an aspiration to get a better future for the children. The government education space is overloaded. It is overwhelmed. There's no accountability. So parents don't feel comfortable having their kids' future in the hands of a system which is not accountable. So they move as soon as they get to a certain level of prosperity, they get out of poverty, they immediately move their kids to private schools. This is a unique moment in time. India has started aging up. So while it will take several decades, but the population growth is slowing down, we will probably never have this kind of a peak, 450 million kids. Now let's break down this number. One third. A third of these go to government schools. They cannot afford anything, so they get free education. And as you said, you'll have state governments and you'll have central government, municipal governments, everybody having, some kind of a school. There are 12 lakh schools which are run by the government in the country, approximately, right? I'm talking about approximate numbers.
And that includes state, central, civic.
Yeah. Against that, a similar number, one third, say about 12 to 15 crores, go to private schools. Now, against 12 lakh government schools, there are only 4 lakh private schools, right? And a third of the population doesn't go to any school at all.
Yeah.
So even though the gross enrollment ratio at the primary level is close to 100%, so as a country, we have done a great job of making sure that every child who gets to an age of 3, 4, 5 gets into a school. But the number of kids who get into first year of college after grade 12 is about 27% only.
So there's a massive drop-off.
Right? So if magically one day all of these kids were to get into a school, we don't have the infrastructure, right? And everybody wants English medium, everybody wants computer-based education. They're all looking to the best. It doesn't matter whether it's a government school or a private school. They want the best for their child. Education is so precious, and that is where it is such an important thing that the country cannot develop unless we have these kids, less than 19-year-old, get a good education. The other interesting fact is that every month, about 10 to 15 lakh young adults start looking for work. They enter the workforce, right? They do not have skills to do a good job. So that problem is huge at both levels, at the entry level as well as at the exit level.
How do you think budget private schools are going to perform long term? Because, I really don't know where this is going. You have the NEP, the National Education Policy 2020, which talks about a lot of things. But education is very complicated that way. What's your outlook on the future now?
Yeah. So there were some people who got carried away by the online trends that we saw during COVID. The post-COVID bounce back has made it very clear that the schools are not going anywhere. One, education, that is okay. Second thing is that people don't realize that this is a babysitting program till the kid turns 18, right? Parents also have a life. Who wants to have their kids in their hair all day long, right? Mm-hmm. You want the kids to go out, interact with their peers, build those social networks. So schools are not going anywhere. We cannot work unless we give the proper respect and recognition which is due to these schools. As of now, they are looked at as a pariah by the government, right? They look at them as an irritant, an unnecessary irritant. They look at them as competition. Now we know that the government cannot and should not get into these things. There are people who are willing to do it, and parents are willing to pay, right? So I think there should be more freedom and flexibility that should be given to schools. The problems with these schools are that they are not able to give any good quality of education in a consistent manner. Right? There's a huge amount of variance all across, right? So it's not that they're providing much better quality, but they need better teachers. They need better ways of managing the school. They need a lot of capital. Today, they have access to philanthropic capital. They have access to the money lender. And over the last 10 years, they have companies like ours, and there are many others who are also lending to them. But there is no option to bring in equity, right? Now, all of these things will happen only when you allow these schools to be run in a for-profit manner. If you talk about the future of the country, the future of the schooling system, it's time to shake things a little bit. Yeah, we can understand the trust in society. There's a historical reason for that. But should that be the only model which works? I'm not so sure.